Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and I've got a first impressions to do for you. I don't do many first impressions videos lately. I used to do on just about everything that I reviewed, but time frame wise, or I should say time restrictions wise, I just don't have enough time to do it these days. I've got too much else on my plate. So in this case, however, I wanted particularly to make sure I did a first impressions and didn't just go straight to the full review, because this is something totally different for me. It's something abnormal for me to carry and use a lot. So this is a slip joint, and it's a very expensive, very nice slip joint. It is a Birdvis Hitchcock, and I did my unboxing of it a while ago. I said specifically in that one that I would do a first impressions because I'm not a slip joint guy. I'm just not. I don't generally enjoy slip joints. I prefer fidgety, fun action knives. I am drawn sometimes to traditional patterns and some of the traditional materials and things like that, but I like action on a knife. I like a knife that's fun to deploy, and I usually prefer a pocket clip, things like that. So slip joints have kind of been out of my realm up until now, and this is new for me. I kind of decided, psychology wise, to go into trying a slip joint properly by starting at the top, if that makes sense. I've kind of been playing in this range lately anyways with knives that cost this ballpark. This was not cheap. This was $750. That's table on these Birdvis knives, at least at the moment when I'm filming this. And I got it from a buddy who got it straight from Birdvis, and so I'm the second owner of this knife. But it comes in this leather slip, does not have a pocket clip. It is through and through a slip joint, and it's a stiff one at that. The pocket slip that Birdvis sends with the knife, I'm not sure who he has make these or if they do it in-house or what, but it's really nice, very comfortable to carry. And yeah, it is a gorgeous, expensive, very nice, kind of bougie slip joint. I'm not gonna pretend that I know much about slip joints or the world that they exist in. It's not something that I've really participated in very much. I've been loosely aware. I see that they exist, but there's a whole world of like GEC collectors and people who are chasing those drops, and I get why that's alluring, because I get sucked into that for other types of knives and other brands. I just never have participated in it with slip joints. But that said, now I have this one. I'm thinking at the moment, if I'm being honest, that this isn't going to turn into like this deep rabbit hole where I'm all of a sudden going to start this collection of slip joints. I may every now and then find one that I think speaks to me, and because I've now found I kind of enjoy them, I'm enjoying this one a lot. I kind of enjoy every now and then having a knife in my pocket that isn't clipped to it, that's just loose in a slip, hanging out in my pocket, kind of carries like a wallet. I'm liking that, but it's not taking over other knives for me. The only times that I carry a slip joint up to now, including with this, have been as a secondary. I'm still carrying a primary folder front right pocket that is a normal locking folder that's usually fun to fidget with, easy to open and close quickly, get in and out of pocket simply and easily because it's clipped to it right where I can grab it. So this has been a secondary knife for me, and I see that staying the role of slip joints, but up until now I never even really gave them that fair of a chance, even as a secondary. So let's talk about this one in particular. This Birdvis Hitchcock, I'm going to use this Hank to open it so that I don't fingerprint it up like crazy while I'm showing it to you. It's a fingerprint magnet, so I just don't want to be wiping it constantly the whole time. These are done in CPM 154, which is not my favorite steel in the world. At $750, I would definitely prefer to see something that I would consider a little higher performance, but it's also a traditional knife. So this being in that category of traditional knives, I feel like it's actually a reasonably great steel compared to what you see in most traditional knives. So I don't judge it as harshly for being CPM 154 as I would something like a locking frame lock folder or something that's done in that, because that's a more modern representation of a knife. Anyway, CPM 154, and then we've got micarta and G10 scales. So we've got green micarta, we've got the shield, I think is what you call the inlay thing on the handle. That's always the same shape on a Birdvis knife. That's this kind of insignia there. And then we've got this kind of cross-cut natural micarta back there, pins, I don't know what you call this, the spring back here. And then on the opposing side, it's the same, except of course there's no shield. You can see this transition between the two micartas. That's G10 layered, so there's white and orange G10, and then there's also a little orange G10 liner under the scales, which is nice too. So really, in my opinion, just a gorgeous spec. This speaks to me in terms of the color palette and just the aesthetic of this knife. I think it's phenomenal looking. The blade shape, I think, is not only gorgeous and cool looking, but I've found it to be very, very functional so far. In terms of what I use a secondary knife for most of the time, it's going to be pretty light duty. Like, secondary knives for me are generally the smaller of the two knives that I carry, and so if I'm doing a hard use task, I'm usually reaching for the bigger knife. That's just kind of the way it goes. So secondary knives, it's a lot of just like opening mail, opening packages, opening little intricate packaging things inside of the mail. I did cut one apple with this just to see how it would do. I was very meticulous at cleaning it right after. You can't tell I did it looking at it now. CPM 154 would patina if I were to let it just sit in that apple juice or whatever. So I cleaned it real good right after, but I did put it through an apple to see how it did, and it was great. Yeah, so it's been a lot of lighter duty stuff, and so far it's performed really well. The edge that is on this knife is fantastic. The thinness behind the edge is nice. It's a really good blade profile. I believe he's hand grinding all these. I'm pretty sure every aspect of this knife is handmade. I mean, I'm sure he's like milling some components, but it's, I mean, you can tell that this is a maker who is intimately involved with each knife that he makes. And even if you just follow his Instagram, you'll see like his process is really, really cool and meticulous, and he's building these by hand. Nick is the name of the maker of these knives, and I got to meet him it was Blade Show West, and I had been loosely aware of his knives before that show, but I'd never handled any, and I'd never really paid much attention because not a slip joint guy, right? But after handling them at the show, that's what like sparked the fire in my mind and made me really want one of these to have. So now I have one, and honestly, first impressions wise, I've carried this knife for a few whole days. I'm later filming this video than I meant to be, but I'm not in full review territory yet either. I'm kind of in this middle spot. I'm really liking it. I guess I'm not completely formulated on it yet, because it's not like changing the way that I view knives, right? It's not making me into a slip joint guy, which is something that I was open to. Like, if this sparked a fire to the point where it was like, now I want to try a whole bunch of slip joints, I'd be open to that. And maybe it will get me there eventually. But rather than that, I've just found that I really like this unique piece. I'm really enjoying this knife and the way that it's built. And it's not necessarily, I don't know, take this for what it is. I kind of find myself forgiving that it's a slip joint because it's so wonderfully done. I still don't prefer slip joints. It takes me back to towards the beginning of my channel. I had a Spyderco Native 5 fluted carbon fiber and S90V. That knife, I don't like backlocks. I just don't. For a lot of the same reasons that I don't really like slip joints, I don't prefer backlocks. I don't really own many. The couple that I have never get carried. They're just not a thing for me, right? But that knife was so good at all the things I want a knife to be, other than being fidgety because it's a backlock, that I just found I was bonding with the knife itself. And I was finding like it didn't make me want to try a whole bunch of backlocks or even just more backlock Spydercos or anything like that. It really just made me appreciate that knife for how well it was done amidst being a backlock. And this is doing that to me for a slip joint. I love this knife so far. It's got this awesome, really stiff spring tension, which I like. It feels when it's open like it wants to stay open. It doesn't want to close. It's in hand, almost perfect for me. It carries really, really comfortably in the slip that it came in. I did carry it once in a 5th pocket without the slip, and that was convenient as well because the 5th pocket in that pair of pants was kind of perfect for it. But it looks great closed. It looks great open. The materials are wonderful. The finishing is fantastic. It is a masterfully executed knife. And yet I'm forgiving the fact that it's a slip joint because of that. It's not making me love all slip joints, if that is fair to say. So I guess that's kind of where I'm at first impressions wise. I imagine my review may end up sounding really similar to this. I apologize if it does, but that's where I'm at in the moment. I'm loving this knife. It's performing well. It's living up, at the very least, to everything I had built it up to be in my head. I was really, really excited for this knife, and I haven't been let down by it one iota. It may even be exceeding my expectations a little bit now, living with it. So take that for what it's worth. Birdvis makes a hell of a freaking slip joint. It is really, really well done. So anyway, thanks for checking it out with me. I'll be back again with this for a full review, probably in another week or two. We're in the midst of the holidays now too, as I'm filming this, and it's going to be crazy here. But I'm working on trying to segment my time better so that I can get content filmed more regularly. Hopefully I'll have this done soon. But yeah, first impressions, freaking love it. It's great, and we'll talk more about it in the full review. All right, thanks for checking it out, guys. We'll see you on the next one.